All right, so let's talk about getting stuck into the Hawk. As one would expect from a sci-fi kit, it goes together super simple. The construction is incredibly not difficult, but you do have, again, as one would expect from a sci-fi kit, seams and things to contend with. A couple of things. So what I do find out is if you want to paint it, especially if you are going with the screen version, so that the screen accurate color scheme, the orange scheme, you've got to be careful with your timing on your painting, right? So looking where the colors are, right? So let's flip this around. Where you have that orange, to get to those places, you kind of need to do them during the assembly phase, right? So there's the way this all goes together. You've got to get all that in. Now this does tell you where the colors are, where they've got to go. And so you can get this set up. You just got to think about how you're going to go about it. So, and let me see if I can, there. So the taking care of the beak, the engine, this big engine pod in the back, as well as this. So all of those are going to need to be creatively masked. And you can see how this is done back here, right? So taking that information, what I've done to this point is I've assembled through essentially step 9. All right, well, okay, so I've done up to step 9. I've skipped this part, and I've done these pieces for step 11, right? So it's about as far as I've gotten. And the other thing, we'll talk about it. So because I now have these pieces ready, I can start the painting process in getting the colors masked in. Now, the other thing I've done is I have done the engine bells. I did them with AK Extreme Metal. And these are it's a paint on wax basically, and I haven't polished them yet, but I've got those done. I did the same here. I did notice that the screen version has the metal stopping here, so I may go back and paint that white. I might just leave it the way it is. Depends on how I feel. Again, I'm not bent out of shape about that level of accuracy and detail, but I'm trying for some things. So what next I need to do is I've gone through and done the seams. The seams around the beak are really important because your eyes are going to be drawn there. Your seam hides in here, right? And there's a ledge there. I didn't bother making that go away, essentially because it's going to get hidden, right? That's going to be in the way. So I'm not going to worry about that one there. And I even did clean these up, though I really didn't need to for the same reason. Seams on these side engines took a little bit of work. I also went back and rescribed these. So I did find that the this what's the word I'm looking for? Panel line, I guess. Because of the way it was molded, got really narrow at the seam point. So when I put these together, I went ahead and cut those back in with a knife, with my scriber. So the next step for now I need to go ahead and get this masked off and get the orange painted so that I can then get started into the next steps. As I look at what those next steps are, right? It's getting a lot of this stuff put on. Now, if you look at where transfers are going and you look at this piping work that needs to be done, I think what you're going to find is take a look at what transfers are going on the hull, on the underside of the hull, before you do these steps. So get it ready so you can do these, and also check these parts. So get these assembly pieces ready to go. I would actually recommend putting the transfers on in the areas that are going to get covered before you go out and find yourself having to try and transfer around all that work. Last thing is these guys. Those are annoying. Now, I haven't cut them off yet for a reason. They put sprue nibs on, or basically the sprue gates are at the tips of all of those. When I did my Eagle 1 in 1/72nd scale, I went back and I drilled those back out, which, I plan to do here, but I'm more concerned about what it takes to cut those off. And I may end up using a razor saw instead of nips, because if you look at where they are, it's the weakest part of this entire assembly, like from here to here, is that, not here. Because even though the sprue gate is a sprue gate, if I can get to focus, there we go, it's still not all that, it's still possibly stronger than the bind between, or than the join here to here. So essentially, that's going to need to be carefully removed. So that's it. I'm going to go ahead and mask up, move on to the next steps, and we'll come back. So the other thing I need to do is get these little guys out of here. So I'm going to use my razor saw, just because it's the only thing I can think of that I can kind of use. I could use my knife, but I feel like I'm going to put tension on there. So what I'm doing, let's see if I'm in video here. So I'm basically just pushing the teeth along next to where the thruster is. Get it started. Just let that dig its way through. Kind of like working a scriber, right? Just take it slow and easy and let that clear it off. If you've got a thinner razor saw, probably would even be better. Of course, the hard part here is trying to do this on camera because my eyesight's terrible there. So I just went through, right? So I went through there, went through there. Got to do this one. There. And I just got a little bit left on this one. So I can get her there. Patience. Patience, Mal. No rush. Not in a hurry. Here we go. So, after doing that, got those out, and then I can find my good knife. My nice knife. Yeah, that's a knife. All right, just clean that up. Now that I've done that, the other thing I am going to do is I want to drill those out because I'm an idiot. So I'm going to take my micro drill, and this is on a variable speed Dremel. So if I get my hand over here, and I've got it going a little fast. So I mean, I can slow it way down, like I did there, and that's about where I want it, nice and slow. I'm going to try to do this on camera. I may well regret this because I can't see. See if I'm in there. All right, I'm in shot. All I'm looking to do is just give the hint of it hollowed out. And that, I could go deeper, but, I also could, like, completely cut it off if I did that too. So, and there's a seam line there that needs to be cleaned up. Mold line, not seam line. So I just want to go through all of these, and all I'm looking to do there is create the illusion and create the illusion, right? I don't need it to be the real thing. I just need it to look like it's got make it look like it's a nozzle. That's why I don't want to do this on camera. The RPMs are really slow, very low. I'm just using that to, there, hollow, right? So we'll do that, clean that up, and then these will go into the little cup here. Yeah, you can see, is it awesome? No, not really, come on, there we go. But what it is better than just flat. And now I've got the base painting down. So what I want to do is go ahead and get the base transfers on. And this is one of the really cool things about this box. It's really cool. It's got some really nice pictures on where all your transfers go. Also, one of the real big downsides is your transfers are on the box. So looking at where they all go, you've got to look at the side of the box. So I'm actually finding that moderately annoying, but it is what it is. So I think what I want to do is go through and like there's certain ones, these here specifically, right? They're going to be underneath this piece. So getting to those is going to be a pain. So I want to get those down. If I look up at the top, here we go. If I look up here at the top, those are actually on the spine piece. I don't see anything that looks like they're underneath it. So there's that on the tip of the gun, and then there's that on the tip of that thing. But all the rest of things look like they should be easily accessible. That might be easier just to put on. But sort of get them on, and then that way I can hit everything with a shot of matte to seal it up. But I'm going to go ahead and do the transfers that I need to do. I did do, I had to do just a little bit of touch-up and cleanup of oopses where there was some leak. But for the most part, we're there. So I did go to look at getting these done because that needs a transfer on that. These are, by the way, base painted on the sprue. Oh my goodness. So this is the worst of the ejector pin marks that I have to deal with. I think it's the only one I really have to deal with, but ugh, these are going to be hidden because of where they are, but those are right there. So I'm going to need to clean those. So we'll go ahead and putty and then sand those, and then we can get to that later. But it's what it is. All right, so as we get through here, right? As I mentioned with this is really, you got to really get creative. I went and I put the transfers down underneath this. But then I decided I might as well just go ahead and do all the transfers. So once I had the masking done, I went ahead, got all the transfers on. Went all the way around, got all the transfers on, and then just started putting pieces together. Now, some of the transfers I chose not to do. So I chose not to do the wraps around the bars just because I don't like the looks of them typically, so I just painted them. These were kind of cool. There are some transfers I just didn't do because I just didn't do them. But I am now to the point where it's time to start. Well, it's not time to start. I've been sort of nickel and diming this thing back together, run into a couple of problems. One thing I noticed when I was painting these, I noticed that I was missing that bar. So I ended up having to custom make that. So I'll just dab some paint to cover up that's a replacement piece. I also ended up having a problem with that. And I need to clean that up, and I'll clean that up with my knife, but I need to wait till these were affixed so that that's strong enough for me to actually deal with working on it. I'm going through, I've got to put these pieces on. I didn't put the transfers on these, again, for the same reason I don't like bars, right? Doing transfers for bars are just me. So I'm going to put those on. Then I'm going to hit this with a varnish coat. I'm going to hit this with varnish, the matte coat, to seal everything before I put on the engine bells, because that has more of a metallic look, and if I threw the varnish onto the metallic, then it won't look metallic anymore. Then I can go in and put some light weathering onto it. Some of these pieces are really fiddly. Some of these pieces are difficult. Remember, I pointed out earlier that this thing had broken at one point. This piece here had broken. Where it is, fortunately, the fix isn't obvious. But I figure once I hit this with varnish and seal it, I can go back and do the final, like I can paint these pieces, right? These things that I want to have look metallic, and then just do some weathering. We're going to be pretty close to being finished here. There are some touch-ups I can see as I look through this. There's touch-up here, touch-up there, but I can walk through those bit by bit. But that's where we are, so I'm going to go ahead and finish knocking that out and then hit it with varnish. I may have mentioned this when I was drilling these out, but I'm going to mention it again. Ugh, these mold lines. I could ignore them, but no, I really can't. They're small, and it really depends on how much effort you want to put into it. Like, are you really going to put the micro detail? You're not building a filming miniature, but if you're trying to replicate something that would be used for a filming miniature, then yeah, you got to kind of go through this. If you're going to go through what I did to drill those out, then yeah, clean up those mold lines. I found that to be a thing pretty much through this whole thing, but yeah, I just had to show those because I'm cleaning them up. I'm just a little frustrated with it. All right, with the flat coat done and the details put on, now it's just a matter of going back and doing the final painting touch-ups and then putting the little pieces on. Now, I did make landing gear, and it looks like me, all right? I mean, I really didn't do as good a job on it. I didn't take like a lot of time to make it. It's more of a test bed, so I could update and make those look a lot better. But the thought being, the engineer in me is like, all right, where could landing gear be in this build, or in this kind of a design? And those are about the places I could think of. These could either be there or there. But if we have them fold out like a scissor, that would be decent. Now this also is about maybe, I'd say almost a centimeter, no, about half a centimeter taller than it needs to be. So we could also make that mechanism smaller, and that could extend up and out of there. That's easy, right? So I did that mostly because when I do the 1/48 scale, I actually do want landing gear. I may take these off and just display this on the stand, because it looks, this thing looks really cool just, in flight. But I may not, just because those are there. Like I said, a lot of detail could be put on there. Could put detail up on the mount to make it look like it's appropriate. But I will go back. Now I'm going to go back and paint the thrusters and finish putting all that together. But I'm really, really liking this kit's been great. There's just been a lot of little fiddly stuff to deal with, right? Those brakes that I told you about, had to fix that. These had to fix that piping. This is so much better than the original offering. It's awesome. It's just wonderful. So I'm going to go ahead and finish the painting, and then we'll put on the that's what I'm looking for. Engine nozzles. There we go. And then we'll come back. All right, details put on, and now it's time to weather it. I'm going to go ahead and pull out the oils and just do some fine panel line here and there. I'll probably do some burn marks, or not burn marks, but marks from the thrusters. I'll color up the back end of the engine. You know, I might just leave those landing gear on just because it displays nice, right? Because it can sit on the shelf and look nice. But yeah, let's go ahead and hit the oils, and then we'll call this. Done. So is the Hawk. So this was, as expected, a very easy kit to do. I don't expect difficult in sci-fi models at all. The only difficulty I expect is getting the fit. This fit very well. The piping detail, all of the extra little details that are on this kit that the originals never had is amazing. I love the way this thing is put together. I love the way it comes together. I'm a fan of the overall look. There are a couple of gitches and gotchas as far as how to get things done, and I called them out in the videos. So overall, I'm really happy. Like I said, I did go ahead and I'm leaving the landing gear that I put on there on just because it looks nice on the stand. And they are a test for when I do the 148. When I do the 148, I am going to make actual landing gear that look like landing gear for now, and on the shelf that this is going to be on, that'll work. But if you look at the underside, right, the details on the underside, if you're going to display this thing in flight, it has a spot in the back. There we go, spot in the back for the bar, and this thing, you can put it at whatever angle you need, and this thing just looks great. I mean, this is what it was meant to be, right? Great little kit. Nothing like what I remember from the old Fun Dimensions release. For any of the niche modelers for who love Space 1999, there you go. But here, I'll go ahead and take a few pictures. This was a nice little mojo builder. I'll go ahead and put some pictures up, and we'll move on to our next project. I hope this was useful and entertaining for those who are interested in putting this kit together, and I hope this helps. And until next time, thank you for watching. Happy modeling.